Hello, welcome to Good Burger Reviews. I'm Johnny, and I'm here to review a brand new 2025 movie, and that movie is Shelby Oaks.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Paranoids. Today we're taking our first foray into the abandoned town of Shelby Oaks.
The movie was released in October of 2025 into theaters. It is directed by YouTuber Chris Stuckman. It is starring Camille Sullivan, Sarah Dunn, and Keith David. The basic overview. A woman's search for her long-lost sister becomes an obsession when she realizes a demon from their childhood may have been real and not imaginary. So I will say about Shelby Oaks. I didn't even really know about this movie except for, of course, as a follower of Chris Stuckman on YouTube, I knew that he was making a movie and I knew it was going to be released, but I didn't know anything else about it except for it was probably going to be some sort of haunted house type of story. And this one definitely is. This is a blend of all the traditional spooks, haunts, bump in the nights, meets a very found footage format. Blair Witch style, but it doesn't go full found footage. It kind of was giving me, especially in the beginning and the end, a Carmichael Manor vibe. But it also was giving me, and you know, when I looked at the poster and I read the basic premise, it was giving me an Oddity vibe. And Oddity was my number 2 favorite movie from 2024. So I was anticipating this one since it kind of checked all my boxes for movies I like.
Do you need help?
She finally let me go. So we're going to get into the positives, the mix, the negatives, and then we'll possibly talk some spoilers. So let's get into Shelby Oaks. So the positives on Shelby Oaks is definitely the setting, the mystery, the intrigue, the horror. You have this story about a girl who is gone missing. Now, she was like a famous, ironically, she's a YouTuber, and she's got this ghost hunters channel called Paranoia Paranoids, or something like that. Paranoid Paranoids. She even struggled saying it herself in one of her shots. And you know, very similar to the crew in Carmichael Manor, and even in the movie I just discussed that was on Shudder, House on Eden. It's about this documentary crew that goes around on ghost hunts and investigates haunted houses and haunted places, and they come to this haunted town in Ohio called Shelby Oaks. But Riley and her crew go missing after investigating this like haunted town of Shelby Oaks, where there's like this amusement park that was shut down, and there's also another notable place in this town that was shut down is also a prison. Another thing that I would put in the positive is I enjoyed the Keith David. I mean, he did really well and spooky in his role as the mysterious warden. And I mean, his role is fairly small, but I was intrigued by his part and everything all the storytelling that goes on about what went down in the prison. You know, it goes down really neat. And I would say I do like the style, because when the movie opens up, it opens up very much like Carmichael Manor, where you think you're watching the documentary on, you know, some people are kind of explaining what went down back in 2008 when Riley went missing. There's a lot of found footage shots, a lot of shots of a lot of Riley's footage being aired in between the people talking, explaining. So there is a lot of exposition with this. And the movie opens up for a long time in this format before it finally cuts to credits and then goes into regular format for a very big portion of the movie in the middle. Now, and I like that it kind of flips back and forth, because, you know, I do like found footages when they are done not too extreme, where the whole thing is found footage and there's tons of shaky cam. I tend to get lost. There's not too much shaky cam in this because there's not too much found footage aspects in it. For the majority of the movie, you are in regular format, behind the lens of a regular camera, following sister in current times trying to track down her sister that's been missing for over 15 years. I would say the cinematography is decent, the score is good. Most of the characters, especially some of these spooky and haunted characters, are I feel like are done very well. I mean, there's some great imagery in this. And it definitely pays some homage to some of the bigger found footages like Blair Witch Project. You know, there's this reoccurring theme with these two sticks that look like an X kind of put together. I thought that part was neat. That's definitely like Shelby Oaks' like little trademark with the two sticks is. It's like two sticks right next to each other, and then it looks like two X's, and it's in all different aspects of the movie. And I think it's like the signature behind the demon in this movie. So that will bring me to what mixed aspects do I have on it. So once the movie gets up and going, we're with the main star, Mia, who's looking for her sister Riley that went missing 15 years ago. And you know, by now most people would assume that she's dead, but she's never been found. A body's never been found. Someone shows up, gives her more evidence, more of a video for her to look at, and it sets her on this journey where she's going to go to like Shelby Oaks. She's going to go to this abandoned amusement park and go to this abandoned shut down prison. And I think she goes at night. And I know, and this is why I'm kind of mixed at it, because I know she's desperate to find her sister. She's desperate to solve the problem. But I think you're going in the middle of the night, sweetheart. I mean, I get we're going for it's a scary movie and it's going to be more scary if she investigates at night. It just lands that way, but I'm like, oh my God, really? She's going to go and goes by herself too. She goes by herself. So I was just like, sometimes I think, is this more of bad decisions or is she just, you know, acting out of desperation? And that's kind of why it's a mix for me. Because normally, like, when I think of The Strangers, Chapter 2, like, the decisions in that were just downright terrible. So I definitely put that in the negative. Here, I'm more mixed on kind of how she operates. So I think my big negative on this one is this is kind of a one-man band. You know, you have Mia, her husband's not like totally supporting her on all of this. So like even when she goes investigating, she's by herself. But you know, she finds a place where there's this lady and you know, it's very spooky, and then there's this dog too. There's dogs. And like I felt like, is this going to be like a Cujo thing, or is the, you know, you don't, I think, is the demon the dog, or is, and it turns out no, the dog is actually alive. It's just this dog is showing up in visions, and then it shows up for real, and leads her to the house where she believes Riley is. And she goes in, and I'll just say, you know, I guess this is the spoiler, you know, so spoiler warning. She finds Riley in this house, and it's been 15 years. She's been held captive, and it's like she's even had a baby. Now, Riley's condition is really rough, but the baby, you know, the baby seems fine, even though she is bloody. And that was another thing that was weird. There's this one scene in the beginning where someone comes to her door and there's a shotgun, someone gets shot, and it's like she gets blood all over her. And she's like got the blood on her hours later, and like it seems into the night and even maybe even the next day. Like you never wipe the blood off, but that's just a little nitpick. But you know, she finds Riley only to bring Riley home for this demon that finally shows its face to kill Riley. So I think, man, it takes 15 years to find Riley for her to die. But, you know, I mean, that was the story. I mean, I really did enjoy it. I mean, it was the mystery, the intrigue, the spook, the horror, all that stuff's in there. So, you know, you're following it along, and it's like every turn that happens, you're like questioning, where's this going? So at the end of the day, I did really enjoy this one.
You live alone out here? Nope.
Just because Mia does a lot of searching on her own, there's a lot of her just kind of walking around or investigating or kind of searching out, and there's not as much dialogue. So it does have some sluggish moments, But overall, I would not say, I feel like maybe it was trying to be somewhat of a slow burn, but overall, I would say it totally does not take away from the movie. And I will say, I really am impressed considering this is just someone that started on YouTube doing exactly what I'm doing, which is just going to the movies week in and week out, and coming home and filming a review and putting my thoughts out on the internet. And that's exactly how Chris Stuckman started. And now he's directing an entire full-fledged length movie. And I have to say I'm pretty impressed. I've actually done movies. Before I was doing YouTube reviewing, I was filming, and they were more like home videos, but I was doing movies at Halloween time. And I know how complicated and how frustrating it can be to direct a movie because people don't always do what they're supposed to do. It doesn't always come out the way you're kind of seeing it in your head. So props to Chris Stuckman. So, I mean, I will say overall, the movie has some predictability to it. You know, the story overall kind of, we've seen it a little bit before, but there's some neat little edges and nuances to it that make it fun and exciting to watch. So at the end of the day, I really enjoyed Shelby Oaks. It's right up my alley, being a supernatural demonic ghost story meets found footage, documentary style telling story as well. So I'm going to give Shelby Oaks a good burger. Don't forget to stay scared of those demons that show up in your childhood, kidnap your sister, take 15 years to show their ugly face, and who seem to like to hunker down deep in the abandoned woods and abandoned ghost towns